Thank you so much for the invitation to the AWC in Seoul, and the presentation that I will bring you here is called Medical Imaging and Histopathology Reinvented with AI. I just want to share a few words about myself. I'm from a research center in Germany called Fraunhofer Mewis, and this is a picture of the building that we just moved in a few days ago. And we call it the Workshop of Digital Medicine. It shall be a place where doctors and other professionals come together and discuss the future of digital medicine and about how we can solve current problems with the help of computers. Our team consists of about more than 100 computer scientists and mathematicians, physicists, medical doctors, etc. And we are part of the Fraunhofer Society, which is Europe's largest organization for interdisciplinary applied science, with, in total, all Fraunhofer institutes, 27,000 employees. The goal of our institute, Fraunhofer Mewis, is to resolve the complexity in medicine. We believe that currently medical doctors are already at the limits of what they can achieve, of what they can grasp in terms of knowledge that is rapidly growing, but also in terms of all the guidelines and data evidence that is growing. So let's look a bit at the process of medical care, from early detection and risk assessment to monitoring, diagnosis and therapy, and just look at a few topics of what we are working on. And this is just representative of what we feel is important to make advance in the field. So in the diagnostic field, for example, we try to bring imaging to the next level, without and with contrast agent, and to be reproducible across vendors, and to be more agile in the developments of new contrasts, and in the end to have the images at the quality, of course at a higher speed, but also at a much different scale. In pathology, we're working on the analysis of multiple different stainings together, and I'll talk about that in a minute. On the therapeutic side, we're trying to enhance the precision and effectiveness of minimally invasive therapies, and in particular to help to assess the efficacy of oncological treatments. And the long-term goal is to have a comprehensive, integrative clinical decision support system of the next generation. And as a cross-sectional topic, and this is also something I'd like to talk about later, is a toolkit which helps multiple institutions to work together. Now, let's look at how it all started. I think it's interesting to read the paper again of Willem Lodwig from '66. And here on the box, the bottom right, I show you the 7 and then finally the 8th step, how he thought computer-assisted radiology should be developed and tested to be effective. And it's really striking that the formulation he chose in the 60s is almost identical to what we are doing today in data analytics and even in the deep learning area. Now, I want to take a large step back and see what the society is evolving like. And I like this quote of Kevin Kelly of this book, The Inevitable. And he said, we are morphing so fast that our ability to invent new things outpaces the rate we can civilize them. And what I believe he means with that is that we need new tools and new processes to test or invalidate new hypotheses and new technological options, new tools. And this is exactly true for medicine. The number of options is larger than ever and rapidly increasing every day, in particular with AI and deep learning. And I want to explain you a bit where this enthusiasm about deep learning comes from. And one example is this AlphaGo experiment of a group by David Silver and others. And they managed even to program the AlphaGo Zero system, where they deleted the whole memory, and just by adding the rules of the board game Go, the computer was within a couple of days able, just by playing against itself from a zero initial memory, better than any human and any computer before. And now it comes the interesting quote in my view. David Silver states that this was even able to surpass their expectations. But then it gets dangerous. He said that then you can have a method, if it's so general that it can work without any prior experience, then you can apply it, that's what he thought, that's what he said, to any other domain. And I think it's wrong. So we must be careful. Artificial intelligence needs to be trained, that's right. But in medicine, it's of course totally different, because the rules are not fully defined, like in the board game Go. And I also don't think that deep learning really has an understanding, what he says, of all the Go knowledge. It's just a reproduction. It's a statistical pattern recognition, what these methods are doing. Now there's whole conferences, as our one here. And I just want to have a look on one other format. That's the World Medical Innovation Forum in Boston. They met for a number of years, and in 2018 they came up with, the conference on artificial intelligence, and the statement that the situation we are in is like Star Wars, or we have Star Wars technology in a Flintstones healthcare system. And I think it really describes well this option space that I talked about before, but also the difficulty to translate these opportunities into action and into availability and into a change and improvement of medical care. So in 2019, of course, the conference was all about the COVID-19 challenge. And they every year have awarded the 12 most promising innovations. And in 2019, they ranked number 1, the reimagination or reinvention, as I call it today, of medical imaging. And this is exactly because artificial intelligence, together with these fast-growing technologies in terms of resolution, in terms of speed, in terms of number and availability, the combination of those technical features with artificial intelligence, deep learning and pattern recognition, this really makes it a totally new game, from the image reconstruction to the analysis and to predictive pattern recognition. Now, I just want to frame it very basic in 3 terms. Why I believe computers will be a central solution piece to solving the complexity in medical care and to transforming it to better accuracy and lower risk, lower error rates. And I think it's just instructive to look at what we humans are not good at. And I just found 3 things. And the first is, we are not extremely good at quantification. We have quite large error bands. And we are not very good at assessing changes in complex scenes. We have to look left and right to see all the changes and to rate them. And if it comes to multiple features, independent properties, if it's more than 3 or 4, we have to simplify as humans. We cannot memorize high-dimensional rules in all detail. But it's exactly those 3 things which are so important in precision medicine. And I believe computers can be of a tremendous help there. That's the motivation of our work. And we work together with doctors in multidisciplinary teams in order to build something that's really usable and that targets the medical need. And what we need for that is a number of components. So deep learning is not enough. We need also a toolkit to have a reproducible situation, to be able to compare to what we did last year or 2 years ago. And then we have a whole pipeline of processing steps, and so we need much more than that. And we want to combine it with scientific models, not only data-led models. And then there are specific challenges that we are targeting, from the imaging physics side until the application side. And one particular challenge is the change detection. I really believe this will be a crucial component. Now, let me just show you what we do with our frameworks. We can just watch deep learning during the process of learning a simple task here. And this simple task is find the liver in 2-dimensional CT images. And this network just sees a small piece of it. So like 10% of an actual slice. And then you see after 20, 30, 40 cases already, the situation is pretty stable. And even in situations that you see here on the right, and of course all those cases shown here are not part of the training data sets. Already after a number of cases, even in a post-surgical case where a good part of the liver is missing, the situation is pretty stable after like 50 cases already. So yeah, we see some flickering, but this is due to the 2-dimensional nature of the networks and only the partial view. This can be easily solved by a 3-dimensional network. So if you have the liver in the network encoded as a knowledge module, you can go to the next step and tell the next network or the same network to learn about abnormalities in the liver. So like the tumors. So we have published this in scientific reports. And what we see over and over is that these neural networks achieve human level performance. So that means that currently, if we train them well on a given task with a representative data set, we can achieve expert level of accuracy and reproducibility. Now, let's go to a totally different scale. And I think we need to bring all those information pieces together. So this is histopathology, and we worked on different tools to, once the pathological images are digitized, to extract knowledge from them. And of course, oncology is a major field of application. And it really could be shown that by already simple methods, tumor grading can be made more reproducible and also very efficient. And then it's one step further. We want to find out by which means, which are the criteria, which are the specific microscopic features or cell configurations that really show us what would be a responding tumor and where would the therapy not work. And then if you have these methods, then we need to instrumentalize them. We need to add explainable AI layers. And one example here is the Histomapper project. I really like it because it just brings it down to human readable terms. Of course, this is kind of the tip of the iceberg. It doesn't show all the encoded knowledge, but it's already very helpful to see what the network has found in terms of individual features, in order to see whether this also is our human view on things, or whether it raises some doubts. Now, I told you about finding changes, but this can also be seen differently. In histopathology, we often have multiple serial sections stained differently. And with our methods, which were here award-winning, we can combine these in a very high accuracy. A few slices, not only two, can be combined, despite ruptures or foldings or whatever happens, can happen during the processing. And a very similar technique can be used in radiology. Image registration is a tool to combine multiple volumes of the same person. And then we can, of course, very easily teach the computer to identify changes. And I strongly believe that with having all those tools combined, we can find relevant change much earlier, as it is currently the case in clinical care. Earlier to decide whether a therapy works or not. And now to the end, I just want to show you a bit why I believe collaboration is so important. One center alone, even the largest centers, cannot fully solve a medical problem based on their local data. On the current COVID-19 pandemic, we worked together with groups in the Netherlands, and very quickly we were able to bring their algorithms and use them on a German data set. And we had a toolkit that was built from multiple layers, where new modules could be plugged in easily. And then within the German network, which is led by the Charité in Berlin and the university clinics in Frankfurt, we have, in the meantime, collected 14,000 chest CTs from 36 university hospitals. And these algorithms can now be sent to all of those clinics synchronously. So we have a network where the data resides at the hospitals. So collaboration is key. And we are also part of the Imaging Data Commons activity in the United States, which explicitly targets to create available research data sets and to have a growing resource for knowledge generation. A similar project, we are the technical lead here in Empire, which is an ecosystem for digital pathology in Germany. And this really covers the whole value generation pipeline, or what we call innovation chain, from the problem statement until validation and even product certification. Now, one of my last slides is again a statement that I believe in the future we need to follow this idea of connecting multiple databases, but not by bringing the data all into one common place, because data protection is very important, but by synchronizing the analysis. And we have done steps in this direction of federated learning. So we believe that this is a way to go for very complex paradigms to be analyzed together, and that's what I would really love to do together, also not only within Germany or within Europe, but internationally. And the data can stay protected in the hospitals. So our overall goal at Fraunhofer Mewis is not only to improve the quality of healthcare, but also to think about what is the view of patients and their families to these developments, and how can we bridge the gaps that are currently still existing, and how can we strengthen industry and societies. So with this I would like to close, and just with a few closing words, I also believe that we should not ask whether AI will replace humans, but we should bring all the people together with the right tools in a team. And then we need people who ask the right questions and define the problems to be solved together. Thank you.